It's fantastic to see everybody back. Now we're going to talk about how AI innovations are sort of shifting the landscape when it comes to ADR. I hear about all kinds of legal innovations when I sit down for dinner with my wife every evening, and basically she's the founder of a legal tech startup. And what I'm really looking forward to now is to hear more about how you can level the playing field. And Anoob, the founder and CEO of CTRL AI, is going to do exactly that. Please give him a warm round of applause.
I'm keeping a watch here so that I don't overrun on my time. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Firstly, thank you to Dr. Hamid Mira and the SCCA for the invitation. It's a great honor to be here and share some of our thoughts. Before we jump in, a very quick introduction. I know it's the afternoon, but it's after the coffee break. So we'll have some energy. And I'm going to talk about technology, which is going to be even more energetic. So a very quick introduction. We call it Control AI. I'm the CEO and the co-founder. We are a London-based generative AI startup. We've been around for a year. We predominantly work with large enterprises, medium enterprises, law firms, essentially helping them use generative AI to help do complex work and at the same time in a predictable, outcome-driven fashion. One of our first areas is dispute resolution. So today, instead of sharing my thoughts on dispute resolution, which I'm sure all of you are much better experts than I am, I'm going to share a few of my thoughts around how AI can be an enabler. I promise you that this is not going to be a technical session on generative AI. The idea is to just give you a different perspective on Gen AI and what's out there, and not necessarily what you just read in the press. This is not about thinking that technology, that's not for us, AI, that's not for us. I'm trying to give you a perspective and hopefully some thoughts that you can take away around how do you use technology, and especially how do you use generative AI as you go about in your profession. So what we'll do is we'll jump through a few topics. I'm not intending to go into a significant amount of detail. Talk to you a little bit about the current landscape, why innovation is important, or what is the promise of AI, and where is it that we think the barriers for adoption are, and what are the trends and opportunities ahead of us. So when I look at the room and when I look at the various participants from this event, I am very confident that AI is something that you are all familiar with. And whether it is in predictive analytics, whether it is in decision making, all of those things have been around for many, many years. But today, AI is starting to evolve. And especially when I talk about it from the generative AI lens. And one of the biggest differentiators is in dispute resolution, I kind of think about it as three dynamics. The intensive and expensive resources that are used, the data intense landscape or ecosystem, and the very nuanced approach towards detail and reasoning. And that's where generative AI starts making it more interesting. However, The evolution in the last 2 years has meant that the traditional approach to generative AI has seen a step change. And you're going to ask me, how is that even possible? And the answer is not ChatGPT. This is where I'm going to introduce you to a concept called agentic AI. And I'm sure those of you who watched the legal tech press or observe what's happening in the legal tech industry are starting to hear a lot more about it. So think about it as agentic AI is the same as you mobilizing a team to start work on a new engagement or a new dispute. And typically what you would do is you would start identifying the right groups of people for their skill sets and get them to start organizing the workflow in such a way that it leads to the right outcome. Now, in today's context, agentic AI is nothing more than exactly that. All that you're doing is instead of creating teams that sit next to you, you are in addition to using your teams, you're in addition to that using agentic AI tools that the teams use so that they are able to use technology to help them do the work they need to do faster, safer, and more consistently. Someone today this afternoon or early in the morning said AI has no ego, which is true. It's never cranky. So you would ask me, what does that actually mean? So I'm going to lead this on to a very simple example. More often than not, we get asked the question, show me this in action. Now I'm going to give you a very simple illustration of one of our products. It is essentially a controls dispute product, as we call it, used by large enterprises and some law firms. And there are 2 levels to this product that I just want to leave behind with you to think about. Please remember, this is not about the product from Control AI. This is about the underlying technology and what it is actually doing in the legal workflow. So at the top, as you will see, there are what we call AI agents. It's very similar to actually having resources around you or experienced talent around you. One of them is a classification agent, the other is an analysis agent, then you have an assessment agent, and then you finally have a drafting agent. Simplified, I agree, but still, the idea behind it is that you've created AI agents who are trained to sit next to your teams to do these activities. And the way they are trained, and this is the most important aspect about the new version or the evolution of AI as we see it, is the cognitive frameworks. So we actually teach the AI agents to be able to do certain tasks so that when they are used by experienced legal professionals, they are able to go through those activities much faster and with much more accuracy and consistency than they were used to before. Which obviously leads us to that question of, in the legal sector, what are the big obstacles towards the adoption of AI? And as you would expect, there are fundamentally 3 big obstacles. In an environment where data is the core and center of every legal activity, the integration of data and the safety of data is a key hurdle to overcome. The second one, obviously, is building trust. And I always say AI is not about replacing the experienced human. It is actually assistive in nature. It is actually about making the human being or the experienced resource to do what they are meant to do faster, more productive, and more efficiently. So it's about them having to lean in on their expertise rather than having to do the things that typically they shouldn't have to do. And finally, is related to that second point, It is about change management, and I'm sure you're all very familiar with it. Change is very difficult, but it is inevitable, and especially in today's context, it needs to happen much faster because technology is changing much faster. Finally, when I think about it, and when we talk to our clients, whether they are law firms or whether they are large enterprises or medium enterprises in the space of disputes, what we are starting to learn from it is AI is starting to become quite a cornerstone of how the work is done. It's not about replacing the human. The technology will change and evolve and mature faster than we can train new teams and new resources in, which is an important consideration to make. And the last one, the lines or the boundaries between legal professionals, technologists, innovators, that is blurring as we speak, and that actually opens an incredible amount of opportunity. So to finally kind of wrap this up, as I said, this was not about giving you a deep technical view on agentic AI or AI, but the idea is to give you a sense of a point of reflection around what you could do versus the traditional approach to AI. Thank you very much.